I would say just keep creating content. The way that I started getting shoes is the brand saw what I was making on YouTube about sneakers and the way that I was talking about sneakers. And because of that, they wanted to start sending me stuff.
Hi guys, my name is Mihir Joshi and welcome to another episode of the MJ Show. Now today I have somebody very special and extremely different. Now most often you've seen people from the music industry, actors, but of course I have had in this lockdown season of the MJ Show a few people who are incredible content creators on YouTube as well. Now if you follow me, you know that for the last few weeks, possibly a couple of months, I've been getting deep into sneakers, but and like I do when I get into anything, whether it's my comic books, it's my statues, my music, and everything that you see around me, I want to find out more. And in my quest to find out more, I decided, okay, let me use YouTube and find out what great sneaker collectors and people who are talking about sneakers are talking about. And in that process, I discovered a lot of fantastic channels. And my favorite out of all of those
Oh,
is the one by Jacques Slade. And it is fantastic that on today's episode of the MJ Show, I have him as my guest. So we're going to find out a little bit more about Jacques. Welcome, Jacques. Welcome to the show.
thank you, MJ. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. That was a very great intro. I feel like I need to have you do my intros all the time. I don't know if I'm that cool, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, but you know what? See, so I'm gonna be 100% honest. Like I've been a collector all my life, but my collection has always been comic books, statues. I mean, comic book related statues. And because I was always into music, I was a radio DJ here in India, so I have a whole bunch of CDs at home, and I'm a collector of
Oh
movies.
yes.
So I understand the idea of being a collector. But for me, sneaker collection was completely different. And I'll tell you what really got me hooked on. It was the Last Dance documentary. I saw that and then I
Oh
realized,
yeah.
holy shit, man, I've always known about Michael Jordan. I turned 40 this year. So I mean I was around the time when he was actually playing live as well. So I've seen
Mhm.
they didn't show the NBA over here, but everybody knew who Michael Jordan was. Everybody knows
Yeah.
about the Jordans. And I was always wondering, how is it that I'm almost 40 years old and I don't have a pair of Jordans? And about 2 months ago, I changed that. So now I have four pairs of Jordans already, five actually. And I saw, the moment I decided that I wanted to start that, I wanted to go deeper. And I think I want to thank you on behalf of a lot of sneaker collectors all across the world. I want to thank you for the incredible content that you make, the amazing stories that you weave in your videos. So let's get into it. But before we get into the sneakers, I want to do what I do when I have a person on my show for the first time. I want to get the origin story. It kind of goes for with
Okay.
my love for comics. How did Jacques Slade become not just a content creator on YouTube for sneakers, but where does your story begin? Tell us a little bit about you.
Gosh, my story begins in a small city called Pacoima, California. It's not
Uh-huh.
known by a lot of people. It's a very small town. It's right outside of Los Angeles. That's where I grew up. That's where I fell in love with basketball, and because of basketball, that's how I fell in love with sneakers. I mean, it's an origin story that I imagine many people have, where you fall in love with the sport, and then everything that's connected to that sport you fall in love with also. So my first love was basketball, watching my older cousins and the older kids in my neighborhood play basketball. And I wanted to be like them. You know, they were dunking and up and down the court and shooting these long jumpers. And like as a little kid, you're like, oh man, I want to do that. I want to be just like him. I want to dunk and I want to do all these things watching these kids at the playground. And then you start noticing the thing that they're wearing, the shirts that they have on, the shoes that they have on, the shorts. And so you try to get every little piece of that in order to make you more like them. And so sneakers was part of that. I guess that love that I had for them. Sneakers kind of came in that way, and that's how I fell in love with sneakers and how they became such a big part of my life.
When you were growing up, because I know that in India we land up seeing the NBA because that gets broadcast now. For the last few years, we've been getting the NBA. But for you guys out there, college basketball is extremely big as well, right? I mean, college
Yes.
basketball is huge. So for you, what was your university, or I mean, as you grew older and got into college, what was your local team that you were supporting?
So for college, it was probably either USC or UCLA, just because I'm from Los Angeles. But the majority of basketball for me came through the eyes of the NBA. I've been a Laker fan all of my life. I love the Houston Rockets as well, just because I grew up in Houston for a little bit. But for the majority of me, it was always the NBA. I watched college basketball a little bit, but mostly it was NBA.
So the Lakers were a massive, what do you call it, an influence for you, and they were the team that you were following. And back then, when you started watching, who were the most influential players back then? Who were the guys who you said that, oh man, I want to be like this guy? Who was the Laker great that you were following at that point in time?
Oh, I mean, it would have to be Magic Johnson. I think everybody, that grew up like in the late '80s, early '90s, it was
Yeah.
Magic Johnson is like the guy you wanted to play like.
Yeah. But I also saw you did a couple of videos, I think, with Kobe Bryant on your channel, and I mean,
Hmm.
he was one of those incredible Laker players who, again,
Yeah,
like Michael Jordan, transcends the sport, and he's somebody you would know even if you did not really know the rules of basketball. He's the kind of guy
yeah.
that people all across the world know. How difficult was it? I mean, I'm sure you've spoken about this multiple times, but knowing that you're a Lakers fan, especially him passing away a few this was what, a year ago, a year or 2 years ago, I think, right?
No, it was about a year. It was a year ago.
About a year ago, yeah. Got the worst memory, but yeah, about a year ago when he passed away. How difficult was it for you? Because I saw that video that you did about not getting to meet him when you have your sneaker conventions, and you landed up meeting him every now and then. I'm sure it must have been
Yeah, yeah.
extremely difficult for you as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kobe was somebody that a lot of people that love basketball, you either loved or hated Kobe, but you always respected what he did. For me, I think it was just as challenging as anyone else, that saw him as like this elite athlete that was doing things that most of us felt were impossible. So
Yeah.
um, I think it had that impact on me. Obviously, I met him a couple of times. I interviewed him a couple of times. I didn't know him personally, like a friend or anything like that. So I imagine the impact was obviously greater for like his family and friends. But
Absolutely.
I did feel the grief that I think everyone else felt when he passed away, especially since he passed away at such a young age, and in the way that he passed away.
Yeah.
It was just very unexpected. So I think dealing with those feelings was something that we all had to deal with.
I can imagine. You know what? Let's talk about slightly more happier things. I mean, I know. What's your connection with music? Because people who follow you on
Mm,
on YouTube and on Instagram, they see you talking about sneakers all the time. But there is a connection, like a legitimate connection with the music industry for you. Tell us a
yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I wanted to be a rapper as well, and so I did an album. It didn't do very well, but I have done music for television and film. So
Yeah.
I have songs in a bunch of TV shows. I have songs in a bunch of movies. I co-wrote the theme song for a TV show, and I still make music every once in a while. Music is definitely something that I really love and I really enjoy making. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't do it as much as I used to, but it's something that's always been there. And I guess I technically have a music career and I have a sneaker career, I guess.
Yeah, and by the way, for everybody watching right now, if you're wondering what the musical side of Jacques Slade is, just if you just Google Jacques Slade, the one of the things that comes up is his Spotify link, and I clicked on that. I heard the songs, and they're definitely interesting. Go and check them out. I mean, you might discover that you like him even more once you find out a little bit more about the music that he's made, because that was really cool. You also did I, correct me if I'm wrong. I may be wrong. Didn't you do a little bit of acting as well? I mean, like you were on screen.
Yes. Yeah,
How's that
yeah.
come?
I was in a movie called Walk Hard, and I was
Hmm.
on the TV show Community for a couple of episodes.
Right.
It came about from the music side. So I did music for the movie Walk Hard, and I did music for the TV show Community.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I was able to be on screen. Like I played a rapper in both movie and Community, and I played a rapper on in Walk Hard.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Let's go back again to the beginning. I want to ask you, what was the first sneaker that you landed up picking up? I mean, what was the first thing that you wanted to get and then you landed up getting it?
I think the first thing that I wanted to get was probably, well, there's a lots of sneakers that I wanted to get that I never actually got. But I think the first sneaker that I really remember buying with my own money is the Air Jordan 11. is the Air
Oh,
Jordan 11 black and red.
nice. Oh man, okay. I love this because so okay, we don't get access to sneakers as easily as you may have, because there aren't too many stores right now in India. I think we are about, I'd say, about 25 to 30 years behind you guys
Oh wow, wow.
in terms of reach and availability. Like for instance, right now there are two legitimate stores apart from your Nike stores and your Adidas stores which have sneakers, and the Nike and Adidas stores don't have your expensive and fancy sneakers. So they, most of them won't have the
Oh,
Jordans, they won't have the LeBron
oh,
shoes and things like that. They'll have the standard running and jogging and the basic shoes which are there. But there are
yeah.
two stores, yeah, which are now bringing sneaker culture to the masses. Kids line up just like they do out there. And there's one
Oh,
called
amazing.
Edge and the other one is called Super Kicks. So these are the only two places in India where you can actually get these shoes. And I was lucky that just last week I picked up the Jordan 11s. I got the lows. I didn't get the highs, but I got the
Yeah, yeah.
Concord breads. The mix of the low which has got the upper of the Concord and the bottom of the bread shoe. I really loved that. I thought that was an
Oh,
interesting.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. When you mentioned the 11, I said that was the one shoe that I also wanted to get. Apart from the band mids, I mean, again, I can't get the highs here, but and they're ridiculously expensive right now, especially after the Last Dance documentary. But I was able to get the band
Oh,
mids as well. So a couple of shoes that I really wanted to get, I landed up getting over the last
that's
few
cool.
months,
That's
and that was
awesome. You love to hear that. You love
man.
to hear those stories of people getting the sneakers that they want.
Oh man, it felt so good. Like, when I walked in and I finally found the 11, and I landed up getting the band mids through resellers because nobody here. Oh, by the way, that's something I want to talk to you about. The resell concept, the whole reselling business that has happened, and it's such a humongous business right now, not just in
Yeah.
America but even here in India. I mean, literally, the 11, I mean, the Jordan 1 high that released 2 days ago, the blue one, the one that you also
Mhm.
were not able to land,
Yeah, yeah,
already
yeah.
selling at 3 times the price right now, which is insane, man. What are your thoughts about the whole reselling business?
I have mixed thoughts about the reselling business. On one hand, it's something that's always going to be there. It's something that always has been there.
Yeah,
But now people are just really taking advantage of it. Now it's just gotten to the point where it's frustrating.
yeah,
It's one thing to, grab a couple of extra pairs and you hold on to them and then resell them later.
yeah,
But right now, people are buying up stocks of shoes and just whole full size runs and hundreds of pairs.
yeah.
And that's when things become challenging. It's one thing to have a couple pairs that you resell, but it's another thing when you're buying up hundreds and thousands of pairs so people can't get them. So it's I'm okay with it, but also it's very frustrating as well.
See, my thought on this is that I'm okay with ethical reselling if there is such a thing. What I mean by that is, okay, you want to make some money. You were the one who got up first in the morning. I mean, for us, it's early in the morning over here. If you want to get it on the sneakers app, I mean, on the sneakers
Yeah.
website, Nike website, you want to get up early in the morning. You're the first one who managed to get it landed. However you did, I don't mind. If you're gonna sell it to me, okay, if it's a $150 shoe, you want to sell it to me at 200 or 250, I get it. If you're gonna tell me that $150 shoe that you picked up today is worth $450 in the evening, that's just nuts, man. I mean, that's just my
Yeah.
thought. I mean, I think I'm not yet into the whole scene so much where I can appreciate and understand that. But I think my middle class brain will never allow me to buy $150 shoe at $500. It's just not gonna happen.
No, I totally understand. I understand exactly what you mean. I came up from very, very humble beginnings.
Yeah,
So the
man.
thought of paying that much money for a shoe
Yeah.
still bothers me to this day. So I don't, I understand completely.
And for you, for instance, you land up getting a lot of sneakers which you talk about, you review and everything. And curious though, do you, the sneakers that come to you, this is a question that, so so there is a sort of a network of resellers that is happening here in India. Like you guys have this, you have StockX and Goat. There is
Yeah, yeah,
there's a network called Soul Search which has happened. I think it started off as an Instagram thing, and they're looking at making it more systematic and creating a website and everything around. And I was happy to see that, and they were very excited. I mean, I mentioned that I'm going to be chatting with you. They said, we are super excited, we want to support it. And they're ensuring that at least the sellers who are selling through their portal, they are verified sellers, they're selling legitimate shoes, and they're trying to do it at decent prices. Everything is legit,
yeah.
which I appreciate. So there were a few questions that came from fans of that of
Okay.
the Soul Search network. I want to ask you one of them. One is, of course, about the Nike controversy that just happened. I know you spoke about it, I think, just a couple of days ago. But
Yeah.
again, going on the whole reseller thing, what did you think about the whole West Coast Joe thing? This is from Vineet Mhatre, who said, what do you think about the backdooring scandal involving Nike's VP? Do you think Nike will take more efforts now to avoid such things? But from what I heard, I don't think Nike was really directly involved in any way. Right? Do you think they were?
Yeah. So thank you for the question, Wineet. I think the interesting thing about that is just because it's connected to a Nike VP, we know that there are these type of resellers out there.
Yeah.
But the big controversy in this situation is that the kid was using, or allegedly using, some of his connections at Nike in order to further his business,
Yeah.
which because there's so much frustration in the community when it comes to resellers, it puts a level of distrust between the consumer and Nike, and that's what needs to be fixed. So I think Nike is going to be saying more about it, and we'll probably be hearing more about it in the next couple of days, because Nike definitely has to say something at this point.
I think they do, and I think if like you said in your video, and by the way, guys, if you've not checked that video out, I'm going to give you a link in the description below, because this is such a hot topic. I really loved. I've heard multiple people's takes on it, but I loved what Jacques had to say. So you guys should check out that video. I'm going to give it to you in the description below. Check it out. And by the way, if you guys are not subscribed to the man, you got something wrong happening right now. If you're a sneaker collector, you should be subscribed to
Thank
him.
you.
Hit the bell icon as well, so that every time he drops a new video, you get a notification and check it out instantly, because he's giving you news, he's giving you the latest things that are happening. Like the last video that I came out just today was about the all-star game sneakers that
Yeah, the All-Star Game sneakers, the
yeah,
LeBron, the Kyrie,
and the KD, right?
KD
Yeah,
sneakers. Yeah,
that's the one
LeBron,
that you
Kyrie, and KD sneakers.
did. Did
Yeah.
you enjoy the all-star game? Was that fun?
Yeah, it was fun. I always enjoy the NBA All-Star game. It's always fun watching all those great players come together. I want to go to one of the. I've never been to an All-Star game. One of these days, I want to get to an All-Star game. But it looks like it's a lot of fun to be there in the arena.
Let's move beyond basketball. Let's get back to sneakers again. I wanted to ask you, you get a ton of sneakers. That's what I actually started off with. What do you do with all of them? Do you keep every sneaker that comes your way, or do you have to give it back? Because that was another question that somebody asked. What do you do with all these sneakers that come to you?
Some of them I keep.
Mhm.
Some of them go back to the company because I'll just do a review on them.
And then you
And
send it
some of
back.
them,
Yeah.
yeah, and some of them I just give away.
Oh,
A lot of them go. Like my brother wears the same size as me. I have a nephew that wears the same size, and so they get a lot of the shoes. I give a lot away to my church, so
nice.
they get a lot of shoes there. And then there's a Goodwill that's not far from my house, and a
Oh,
lot of them end up going to the Goodwill as well.
that is awesome, man. That is brilliant. Here's another question from Yash Sule, and he says, "How can someone be eligible to get sneakers to review or access them early from Nike or Adidas?" I mean, the question is a very relevant one, because now I'm beginning to see a lot of kids in India create YouTube channels to talk about sneakers. So what they do eventually is whatever they are able to pick up, they'll talk about that, or they'll just have
Mhm.
images. So it's a very legitimate question for a sneaker collector in India. What do you need to do to be eligible?
Yeah. Again, thanks for the question, Yash. I would say just keep creating content. The way that I started getting shoes is the brands saw what I was making on YouTube about sneakers and the way that I was talking about sneakers. And because of that, they wanted to start sending me stuff.
Yeah,
So I would say that's probably going to be the best way to get it. Obviously a lot of it has to do with relationships, and maybe if you get a relationship with the store in India and start reviewing shoes from the store and returning them back to the store,
exactly,
like
exactly.
those sort of things, like people have to see your work. A lot of people just want them to send them sneakers, but they need to see the work beforehand. So I would say
100.
work on that first, and then eventually the shoes will start to come.
To add on to what Jacques just said, it's the same concept with an influencer in any field. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, any brand, why would a brand send anything to anybody? The only reason they do that is because they believe that if this person speaks about my product, I will end up selling more of my product. So
Yep.
you've got to create that authenticity about yourself, that you are somebody who can legitimately talk about a certain product. So
Yep.
I'm just going to add on to that. Just keep making more content. Figure it out. If you can't get every shoe, put up pictures. There are some really great channels out there who do that. In fact, there's this gentleman called DJ. He's got a show called the DNA Show. So he doesn't get every sneaker. He just puts up pictures as well. That's cool too. He's
Yeah.
still getting to know more about sneakers. So yeah, big shout out to him as well. All right, one final question from the people, the fans of Soul Search, followers of Soul Search. Soul Search. This is from Gunjas. He says, which pair of sneakers do you think are really overrated and overpriced, even for resale? And it's a very vague
Wow.
question. But if there was one sort of, if you thought of a brand line or whatever, do you think which you think is really overrated? What would you say it was?
Gosh, Gunjas, great question. Over That's overhyped. Um, that's a great question. Maybe some of the Travis Scott stuff. I think he's hype. It's hyped for him right now just because he's such a big star.
Yeah,
But if he's not around in 10 years, not to say that he won't be around,
yeah,
but it'll be interesting to see how the prices of his shoes, um, how they coordinate with how popular he is.
yeah,
So right
yeah.
now he's obviously one of the most popular artists in the world. So will people still love his shoes if he is no longer one of the most popular rappers in the world?
That's
So I
true.
would say, yeah, probably Travis Scott, just to see how the price of his shoes correlates to his fame.
Didn't I check out your video where you talked about having one of the Jordans that he's made, and you got somebody to switch the swoosh around and make it the right way around?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I took the swoosh off and flipped it around. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But speaking of collaborations with sneaker brands, what do you think has been one of the most interesting collaborations for you? I mean, there have been such phenomenal collaborations that have happened. What's one of your favorites?
I mean, obviously the off-white stuff with Virgil has obviously been super popular and it's super interesting.
Yeah.
But you also have stuff like with New Balance with Soleil Bemberry doing stuff that's kind of just off the beaten path. Helen Kirkham, she's been doing these very interesting sort of collaborations where she's like taking old shoes and putting them back together. So there's a lot of different things happening in the sneaker world that I think are very interesting when it comes to collaborations.
For everybody watching right now, if there were some names that you did not know, I'm going to ask Jax to give me those names and I'm going to put them down in the description. So just like me, you can find out a little bit more about them. I know about Off-White, obviously. I mean, I'm not sleeping under a rock. In the last 6 months, all the searching that I've been doing and getting deeper into the sneaker space, I of course know about Off-Whites. I saw your video about the fragments that you have as well. And
Yeah,
that's like a crazy hyped shoe, right? Like people really love
yeah.
that. But it for all intents and purposes, doesn't it look pretty much similar to other Jordans which are there? I mean, there's nothing. I'm just being honest about it. I mean, when I look at it, apart from that little logo on the side, there's not much else different from another Jordan of the same colorway, right?
Yeah, there's not much difference. The difference is like that it's the colorway that he uses. It flips a traditional colorway. So for like it's a flip of an original colorway with the Royals instead of the red color. And so
Yeah.
like that always in the black at the toe. So like that is where the story is with that one. So
Hmm.
it although like to most people when they see it, they go, oh, it just looks like a regular shoe. For people that know like the Jordan lineage and the Jordan 1,
Yeah.
they know that colorway and that color combination isn't
Yeah.
normal.
Right.
And it's a flip of an original colorway. Now, obviously, since then, Jordan Brand has done different versions of that or shoes that look like that. But at the time when it was first released,
Uh-huh.
it was very unique and a very unique take on the Jordan original colorways, and that's why it held the sort of status that it does.
This was what, in 2014 or 15, right?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what year it is, but it
Yeah.
was one of those. Yeah, yeah.
This was one of the first really big collaborations between like a fashion brand and like a shoe brand, right?
I would say it was the first for those two, for Hiroshi and for Jordan.
Okay.
It was the first for those two together. Yeah.
What do you think about the Dior Jordans?
I think they look great. I think they look
Yeah.
great. I think they're overpriced, but
Yeah.
I think they look great, and they represent a bridge between the gaps of the luxury worlds and the street and the sneaker world, and really kind of bringing those two worlds together.
Thoughts about the Yeezys?
I think Kanye's doing a great job. I think he's doing what he said he wanted to do and kind of democratizing footwear, and he was able to step in and really change the way the footwear game operated, which is not something a lot of people can say. So I always give him props and kudos to him. I may
Hmm.
not agree with all the colorways, and a lot of them sort of look the same to me. But someone could say that for Jordan ones as well. So I give him props, and I'm looking forward to what he has to do, what he's going to do in the future.
I want to get some final thoughts on, you've seen sneaker culture in America for a long time now. I mean, you've been a part of it. You've now been making content around it. For a relatively newish country like ours, where it's just beginning, for not just for the buyers. I mean, of course, for buyers, I feel that, as a, when you're just starting off, you should buy something that you love and not just look at
Yes.
hyped and what you want to collect and just keep it in a box. I mean, the shoes that I picked up, the 5 pairs, I'm going to be wearing all of them. Like, I've not got anything that is super rare which I just want to keep in the box in my house. So that's how I'm going to start things off at least. But for people who want to create it, who want to be a part of making the sneaker culture here in India, what's the bit of what's the piece of advice that you want to give them? How do brands grow the culture? Because I'm talking about brands, like I said, I told you there are these two places, Veg Non Veg and Super Kicks. How does somebody else say that, okay, you know what, I want to get into the game too, but this is how it should be? Is there a way to go about it?
I really don't think it's the brand's responsibility. So, like you, MJ, you bought what you like. I think
Yeah.
that is what people need to do.
Hmm.
Buy the sneakers that you like and show and talk about them, why you love them. That's where the culture really begins, because people that feel the same way as you, and that's how like the community starts to build up. You get people that share the same interests, that share the same likes, and that's how
Absolutely.
the community starts to build. So I
Yeah.
think as more and more people in India start to see the stories about sneakers, or understand the stories about sneakers,
Yeah.
understand the
Yeah.
stories about design, the stories about the technology, how those are connected to cultural moments. And when people in India, when sneakers just become bigger in India, period, and they start becoming attached to moments in India that have relevance to
Correct.
the community there. I
Yeah.
think that is how the community will start to grow, and that's where you'll start to see the growth of the world of sneakers in the country.
Man, I can't. The reason I'm looking at my phone right now, I want to tell you guys something. I was just looking it up, before I thought of chatting with him. I wanted to see what else is happening in the sneaker space in our country right now. And I found this one brand just today. I mean, I just looked them up today. I was blown away. He's called the Noble. 1 minute. Gosh, I have the worst memory in the world, guys. So give me a second. Let me look up. Yeah, he's called the Noble Sculptor. Okay, I'm going to show it to you here. And of course, thanks to my team. And once the post production is done, I'll put it up on the screen and you guys should check out his Instagram handle. He's making, okay, so I don't think Jacques can see it. So I'm going to drop him a message as well. There you go. Okay, okay, there you go. So he's making little sneakers, Air Jordan ones, and he's
Oh,
building
nice.
them out. They are like little pendants, and he's making little pendants of Air Jordan ones. He's done the UNC ones. He's done the Red Toe. He's done a Chicago. He's done a shattered backboard one. So he's done some really cool things. And I love that. I love the fact that this is a guy from Jaipur. He's a jewelry guy from Jaipur. And he's now getting into sneakers.
Oh,
And he
nice.
said, how do I make my love for sneakers come out through what my family has been doing all these years? They're a jewelry brand. They make jewels. And, and Jaipur is known for that. So he figured out, let me make art using what I love and using
Wow.
stuff that my family has, jewels. That
Wow.
was cool. I think that is really cool. And I think, like he's like, like you said, if Indian people can figure out more things in the sneaker space which connect with stories here in India, I think there'll be just a much bigger explosion than just the few people who are following it because they love the stories from America. I mean, for me, like for instance, I picked up the band 11s, I mean the band ones, because of the stories that I saw about Michael
Yeah.
Jordan. And growing up, I was always kicked about the fact that my initials are shared by two people I really admire, Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson. So, I always wanted to get, yeah, I always wanted to get Jordan ones. But so for everybody watching right now, I think let's figure out a way to bring our stories to the sneaker space. And I would love to actually get some more of these stories out in future episodes of the MJ show, since now I am getting into the sneaker culture. But today,
Yeah.
Jack, thank you so much for being here with me, chatting
No
about
problem.
your journey and your stories about sneakers. If I had to ask you, final, just instantly off the top of your head, what are the three top sneakers that you are really excited about, which are a part of your collection, just so that people can have something to look forward to as a grail if they want to go and get that for themselves? Three top sneakers from your collection.
Um, I would say obviously the Jordan 1, the Air Jordan 3, and the Adidas Superstar.
Awesome. And I love the fact that he did not go specific on it. He didn't tell you which specific Air Jordan 1, which specific Air Jordan 3. You know what? Go and get the one that you like the most. Like, I
Yep.
love yellow. I want to someday get that new love Air Jordan 1 mid because that looks so
Yeah.
sweet. I want to get that yellow black colorway for myself. And even in the threes, there are so many threes that I love. So, I'm going to find one three which I really like. Oh, I picked up the laceless superstars for myself, and I got a black one for my wife for our anniversary. So that was the first sort of sneaker that I landed up picking up technically over 2 months ago, in last year in November. So the superstars actually started my sneaker game here about 4 or 5
Amazing.
months ago. But yeah, man, thank you
Amazing.
so much for chatting with me and sharing all of these
No
stories.
problem.
And
No problem, NJ. Thank you for having me. This was super cool. I love what you're doing.
I would love to have you back maybe 6 months later, and I'll tell you what the
Okay.
scene is and everything that I've been up to in terms of creating content in this space. And we'll talk about some of the interesting things that you've been up to as well. For everybody watching right now, once again, subscribe to Jacques Slade. He's got some incredible content. The link is down here in the description below. And hey, if you could tell all your fans to subscribe to the MJ Show, I'd be really grateful.
I'll tell it. Hey, look, people. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed to MJ, like, what's going on? Obviously, you see the guy's making incredible content. He knows what he's talking about. I mean, he's a spokesperson for the WWE. Like, like that's like the coolest job. Like, I want that job. I want to be a host for the WWE. How do I get that job? You guys, make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow him.
Thank you so much, my friend. Lovely meeting you. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of your videos in the weeks and days to follow. But take care of
Thank you.
yourself. Have a fantastic day ahead, and I'll see you soon.
All right, MJ.
That's
Peace.
pretty much all the time we have for now. That is Jacques Slade. My name is Mihir Joshi. This was the MJ Show. Hey, I'm Mihir Joshi, and I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so that you get a notification every time a new video goes up. Hit the like button as well. Leave a comment here for my guests and for me, and share it with absolutely everybody. We will really appreciate it. Make it happen.